start coding something. Okay, so let me create database, or let me start with schema. Create schema, and let me specify my schema. Okay, so let me call this schema db1. All right, and let me put semicolon. Let me press enter. Let me create database, and let me call it db2. All right, we have two statements here. One says create schema, and we specify the name of the schema as db1, and the second one says create database and specifies the database to be db2. All right, so with the first command here, we can execute all of these two lines at the same time. You can see a blue dot here. This blue dot is indicating that this line 1 is one complete statement. Okay, and this line 2 with this dot is indicating that it is also one complete statement. All right, so as we go on, we'll learn that we can, for some commands, we can have a couple of lines before we get another dot, indicating that all those dots belong to the statement which has the blue dot. Okay, just bear that in mind. All right, so with this first command, we will execute everything inside here. Okay, so if you use this second one, you see it says execute this statement under the keyboard cursor. So which means if I click on this, only this line 2 will be executed, and if I click here and execute this, only the first one will be executed. For me, I want to execute both of them, so let me simply come over here and click. So you see, now the execution is done. And let me come inside the schema and make a refresh. So now that I have refreshed, you see I have db2, db1. You see that? So remember I say, remember I say the schema and the database, they are all the same thing. If you take a look at this db2, db1, you will see they are all the same thing. Take a look at them. Let me click here. You see, what does it say? Tables, views, stored procedures, functions. Okay, those things which we saw here. And let me open db1. You see, they are all the same thing, isn't it? Okay, but take a closer look at this. Take a look at this db1. You see one little icon? This icon is indicating that this is a schema. And take a look at this. You see, it doesn't have that icon. Okay, and also take a look at this again. Tables fetching, while this one is tables. Views fetching, view. Stored procedures fetching, stored procedure. Functions fetching, functions. You see that? But basically, inside a schema, you can create a database, but you cannot create a database. You cannot create a schema inside database. Okay. So let me close that up. So now that I am inside the database, for you to start working with any table, you need to make any database active. Okay, the way you can do that, you can simply come and double click on the database. When you do that double clicking, you will see it will be bold. You see that? Okay, that means that database is now the active database. Alternatively, you can use a command, the command called use. So if I say use db1, then execute the line. So you see, now the db2 is not the active one. Let me make the DB2 the active database, execute. So you can see now DB2 is the active database. So now inside the active database, I want to create a table. Okay, I will create a simple table. I will be creating a simple users table inside which I will store, let's say, username, first name, last name, username, password. Something very simple, very basic. So this is how I can do. Create table. Okay, and by the way, you can do this command either in small letters or in big letters. MySQL is not case sensitive. So create table, and you specify the name of the tables. I say users. Okay, and you put bracket. Let me put my terminator at the end of the bracket, and let me come inside the bracket, press enter again, and here I want to start with ID, and this ID is going to have a data type of integer. Okay, and I would like this to be a not null, which means it must have something, and also I would like it to be auto increment, and also I would like it to be primary key. Okay, this not null looks like it has to be like this. All right, so after that I will put comma. So that means the ID field is going to be incrementing itself. Its data type is integer, and it is not going to be null. It must have something. Okay, and it is auto increment. So the second thing I will have is going to be the first name, and this first name it has to be a voucher. Okay, which is a variable character of 20 characters. Okay, and let me also do last name, which is also going to be a voucher, also 20, and let me do username, another voucher, 20, password. Assume that all the password we want to use are going to be numbers. Okay, so let's say int. Okay, all right, so now I have this. So do you remember that I say you will eventually come and have some lines which do not have the blue dot? Yes. Okay, so what does this mean? That means all of these lines belong to one same statement, and here we have only 4 statements. Okay, so let me insert some data inside the database even before I start running this. I will do insert into the users. What am I actually inserting? I want to insert the first name, last name, username, and password. Okay, that is what I am inserting. So with the values of, and as for the values for the first name, so here you will have to use single quotation or backtick, whichever you use it will work. So let me start with the first name. Let me use my name, 0, last name Adam, username, let's say NZ is my username, and password 1234. All right, so this is one user. Of course, you can add multiple users. You simply come to another line, make another bracket like that, and you add some users. So tell me your first name. Nasiba Muhammad, your username, NN NM, okay, and your password, let's say 0000 is your password, okay, or let me just make it 1212, okay, because I'm using integer and any number of zeros would be ignored since I'm using integer, okay, and let me add one more record. Malam Yasir, tell me your first name. Yasir din nan fa yau na ga gaba ɗaya wani kumbura kumbura kake. Okay, your first name. Yasir. Yasir. Ibrahim. Ibrahim. Your username. BC. BC. GC. Oh, GC. GC. Oh, me haka oho. Password, let's say 3333. And let me close that up and let me close this statement. So you see now I have two statements which I do not run. Assume that after you have this statement, you come and run this first command. Do you know what is going to happen? You will get an error. Take a look. You see, you get an error. So this the one that show good, they were the previous commands which we run. Okay, but this one, take a look at the time. The time is 10:02. The one at 10:02, okay, it fails. And what does it say? It says can't create database db1, database exists. So that means it tries to run this statement, and because of that everything else failed down the line. So instead, what we will do is make sure your cursor is somewhere inside the block of code which you wish to execute, and come and use this one, the second command here. You click and you will see green, and let me come down here and click and execute, and you will see green as well. All right, so that means that insertion is okay. All right, so now I want to run another statement. I want to run another statement that will display me this list. Okay, and the statement is going to be select, and you want to specify what you want to select. So let me select everything from users. Okay, and let me execute the command, and that will show me the output. Okay, so you can see Naziru Adam NZ 1234 Nasiba Muhammad. You see that? So you can have all of that. All right. So now this statement, these statements that we have used, they all fall under this create schema, create database, use database. They all fall under what is called DDL, that is data definition language. Okay, and this insert and this select, they all fall what is called DML, which is data manipulation language. Do we understand that? So now let's take our programming to the next level. After we do that, then somebody say, oh, you have forgotten something. There is another field that is needed inside this table, and that field is for department, and you need to just put the department ID for each one of the users. They have so departments, whatever. Okay, so you will have to use another DDL, which is called alter table. Okay, so you can simply do alter table and you specify the name of the table, which is users. Okay, and you want to add, what is it you want to add? You want to add a new field, right? So you call it the you want to call the name of the field department. Add department, which is going to be integer. Okay, if you want to add it after setting field, then you can specify the field. For example, you can say after, and you specify setting field. Let's say after first name, last name, or password, or whatever. So if you just leave it like this, it will simply be added to the end of the to everything else. So this is what I removed mistakenly. So alter table, users, add department. Okay, so now let me run the command. The command looks fine. Okay, and let me come back to this select all users and run its own command too. So you see, now we have the department which is showing none. All right, so we have 3 people here and they belong to department 1, 2, 3. Okay, or let's say Naziru and Yasir, they belong to the department 1 and Nasiba belongs to department 2, for example. So now we want to use the SQL command to update these records. By saying update, it means we will use the update command. So let me say update users set department equals to 1 where ID equals to 1. Okay, so that is one command. Let me execute it. It executes fine, and where ID is equals to 3, it executes fine, and where ID equals to 2, the department ID is going to be 2, so it executes fine. So let me go to the to display the table. Let me execute the line. So you see now we have the department 1, department 2, and another department 1. Okay, so we'll stop it right here because we don't want to make the video to be too lengthy.